Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. My name is Jeff Pearson. I'm your host, and I want everybody with an invisible condition, no matter what that condition is, to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you have a voice, you do have a community, and you are not alone. And I am so excited for our guest today. We've I feel like this has been a long time coming. We met a while back, and then we planned a couple shows, and we did this and did, and it's been a while. So I'm so excited that he is here today, and he's actually going to be here both shows this week. So he's going to be here today, and he's going to be here Friday. So there was just too much. There was too much to talk about to get it into one. So stick around today and come back Friday, because we're going to be talking about something totally different but related. So Ian Clark is my guest today. And in 2014, he was bankrupt and given 1,000 days to live due to two life-threatening conditions. 5 years later, he was still alive, obviously, and had built a raw supplement business direct to consumer in his basement, which reached hundreds of thousands of people in just 2 years. Ian is the owner and CEO of Activation Products, and he's based in Canada, and he's got a solid reputation for valuable research in the natural health space. Developing effective protocols and products that support natural healing. Natural healing. In 2007, Activation Products was founded with his wife and 7 children, and over the last 16 years, Ian has enjoyed an amazing health transformation for himself, his family, and literally hundreds of thousands of other people through Activation. So I cannot wait for you to meet this guy. Oh, let me pull up one more thing. There we go. Okay. All right, Ian. Oh my gosh. Good morning, Ian. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, Jeff. Yeah, good to be here. We'll have a good conversation today.
Oh, for sure, man. Talking to you the first time we talked, it kind of made my head explode a little bit, in a good way. But I have not. You are talking about stuff that nobody else is talking about that I've ever met. And it's crazy that you don't have to go to the doctor. You don't have to be sick. You don't have to suffer with lifelong conditions for your whole life. There's another way. There's a better way. And for today, for this particular episode, I've kind of called it "Life is in the blood." I remember that phrase came out during our conversation, and that stuck with me. Producing clean blood is key, and that's what I want you to address here. But just what can you just briefly first encapsulate, just describe the health challenges that you faced that kind of led you here?
Well, that started about 20 years ago. I was just turning 46 years old, and I had a bunch of things crop up in that year in 2004. One of the worst things was a business failure that put me into personal bankruptcy. And then I had a large tumor that developed in the perineum area of the body between my legs. And it was up against the prostate and attached to the colon. And it was like, okay, what's that? And I had everything scanned, and they wanted to, do surgery right away. And I'm like, oh, hold it. Whoa. Like, that's in the wrong place to be doing surgery. It was right around the male plumbing, and it was just a really sensitive area. So it kind of freaked me out. And I was having weird heart disease symptoms where my heart would start beating hard. It wasn't beating too fast, but it was beating hard. And then it would stop, and I could feel it stop. And then like 2 or 3 seconds, and then it would go bam and start again.
Oh.
And I was like, what is that? And my brother's a medical doctor for 30 years. And I was asking him about that. He goes, listen, if your heart stops for more than 8 seconds, you're going to be blacked out, and that's going to be a big problem. And, it starts in 3 seconds, good. But, this needs to be addressed. And so, anyway, those are the two things that I found out about in 2004. I didn't know that my liver was really messed up. That took 3 more years to find out that
Mm,
my numbers were off the charts. And so it was just this huge wake up call. It was like, why would I'm only 45 turning 46? I don't get it.
yeah.
You know, and I didn't live a lifestyle that was involving, I didn't drink alcohol. I stopped smoking cigarettes when I was 21. I wasn't doing drugs. But I was eating very poorly
Mm.
and I was not managing stress. I wasn't getting proper sleep. I didn't know it mattered. I thought I'm invincible, you know, it's not.
Yeah, yeah. And wait, this was at at 46 or at 21 that you thought you were invincible?
Yeah,
Most of
right.
us at 18
Exactly.
or 20 think we're invincible, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just found out the hard way that I was very fragile.
Mhm.
And I did not like the idea of the medical doctors, what they offered, because my two uncles died when I was 20 and they were on my mom's side. I looked like one of them. And they died at 51 and 54 years old of cancer.
Oh,
And one took a year from the diagnosis to pass, and the other one was only 3 months. The one who I looked like was 3 months, but I didn't have what they had. My one uncle had liver cancer. He fought like crazy, did everything the doctor said, surgery, radiation, chemo, the whole works twice.
yeah.
It grew back the second time, and they had to do it again, and it took him out. He died as a skeleton. And my other uncle was very robust, and he was when they opened him up to see what was wrong, they found thyroid cancer as the primary source and cancer throughout his body. They just literally sold him up and said, "Get your affairs in order as quickly as possible. We have no idea how much time you have," but it was 3 months, and he was gone.
Whoa.
And it just sort of it jarred the family pretty hard. And I remember it just shocked me. It took me a couple of months to get over that one.
Yeah.
Just the thoughts about it. And so I thought, well, here we are in 2004. Now we're modern. 1978 is like the dark ages. And
Yeah.
they're telling me
Yeah, we've come a
exactly the
long way
same thing.
till yeah.
Yeah, right. But anyway, I was not getting any satisfaction. My brother, the doctor, also told me, he wasn't my doctor, but he told me that that it's all genetic predisposition, and there's really nothing you can do about it. It's just the cards you're being dealt, and you better take it very seriously and let the doctors do what they need to do.
Mm.
And I went, so nothing is helping me. None of the doctors can tell me why I have what I have. They just want to cut it out.
Yeah.
It's in a really bad position. And I'm genetic predisposition is like, seriously?
Yeah.
What do you, what authority do you have to say that? I don't care if I look like my Uncle Don. I didn't live his life. He drank
Right.
and smoked and did a whole bunch of stuff. And so I wasn't like him. And I thought, well, there have to be people on the earth who have knowledge about how to deal with this a much different way, which is called the alternative natural healing space.
Yeah.
And so I woke up one morning and I knew there were people on the earth somewhere who had the knowledge
Yeah.
that I needed, but I didn't know who they were, where they were, how to find them. And it was just like a needle in the haystack, or the tip of the needle in the haystack. And so I was just like, there was a quandary. They
Yeah.
exist. Okay, good. So I made a very sincere request to be led to those people. And that if I could find favor and get led to them, that I would do whatever it takes. I would listen, I would pay attention, I would execute on whatever they told me to do. If I had to change my life in whatever way, I was wide open to that.
Yeah.
I said, if I have to suffer, I'll suffer. If I have to have fun, I'll have fun. If it costs a lot of money, it costs a lot of money. I
Yeah.
didn't have any money, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We were, yeah, it was but I still, in the bankruptcy, because my business went down, because I was working for a company as a marketing director, and it was an executive position. It was okay pay. It wasn't awesome. And we had 7 children. Our youngest was 6 at the time. And, so my oldest was like 19. And it was this situation where I'm like, this can't be. Like, this is completely unacceptable. I don't think that I'm going to die. I'm not interested in prognosis. I was, told based on what the problems I had, if I didn't deal with it, I could die very quickly. And if I dealt with it, I would have like 36-month window. And I just flipped the script. I said, if I have 36 months to live, that doesn't mean I'm going to be dead in 36 months. That means that during that 36 months, I have to learn enough so that could possibly become 60 months. If I could get 5 years, that would give me a better runway. And then maybe I could use that 5 years to get 15 years. And, it was kind of like that
Yeah,
mathematical
yeah.
approach.
I love that approach. I wish more people had that approach. Most people do. You are definitely unique in your view, because most people that I know of, especially the ones that died, first of all, the chemo took them, not the cancer, most of the time. And the second thing that I noticed about a lot of people that get that diagnosis is it's the opposite of that. It's like, okay, well, I guess I get my affairs in order. It's not, well, that gives me 3 years to buck the system and figure out how I can not die of cancer, And so that's unfortunately that's a unique view. So I'm glad you're here to,
Mhm.
yeah, hopefully make it less unique. And I'm gonna, at this point, right now, I'm just gonna put this here. I didn't really talk about it before, but this is, anybody that has any questions about anything that Ian says, or any kind of anything, this QR code here will lead you to his site that you can, and there's a place that you can contact him, and I'm sure there's probably another more direct way that we can put that up there too. But this is a good starting point. So everybody that's curious throughout this conversation and Friday's show, we'll have this up here. Scan it, check it out, and if you have any questions, put it in the comments, or reach out to Ian. He can answer questions. This is your chance. This is your shot right here. So any kind of questions about anything we talk about today. So anyway, yeah, we gosh, what else, man? I mean, this is fascinating. And so you figured out that you started on this road of education, and what was the first thing that you came to? What was your first, like, aha, kind of moment?
Well, yeah, it was the well, first of all, I discarded the idea that I had cancer, even though the tumor was growing and it grew continuously from
Mm,
2004 until around 2007,
oof,
and it became quite large. And because of the area it was in, it created a third testicle. And anyway,
jeez.
too much information.
Well,
but
no, hey,
but
no,
it
I
was,
I didn't know that was
when I was
possible. Wow,
yeah, well,
goodness.
it was like a satellite that reached out from it. And I would not
Whoa,
allow any biopsies. Somebody did tell me during that time when I was inquiring to not allow any biopsy, because a biopsy actually pokes the tumor, and that can release cells. If it is cancer, it could release and then metastasize.
yeah,
So I thought, well,
yeah,
there's no point. I'm not actually interested whether it's cancer or not. I think that when people say you have cancer, that's a very scary statement. And often people say, oh, I have cancer. Well, I don't believe I had cancer for 1 second. And what's interesting, it turned out that as I began to learn where these tumors come from, it turns out that it's just a title they give things, because they try to give it a title. And then they
sure.
try to approach it from that title.
Uh-huh.
It turned out to be a series of fungal infections, heavy metal poisoning. I was loaded with heavy metal. I had worked in the oil field for 17 years, from 18 to 35 years old,
Mm,
and I was exposed to all kinds of terrible things, specifically lead. I was super
wow.
lead poisoned, and that affects you mentally, affects you physically. And I didn't understand that I had like weird anger things that was like for no reason. I would have like almost like a white hot rage, but I wasn't a violent person. I
Yeah.
just because that's just not my personality. And then I had mercury poisoning, significant amount of mercury, and that was from amalgam fillings that I had had in and out many times in trying to save my teeth.
Oof.
And there was cadmium, and then an overload of all these chemicals and estrogens, plastics. It was all this stuff. I'm like, wow, I would have never learned about this if I hadn't gotten sick to even know that those things were a problem.
Right.
And they kind of accumulate and become tumors. And they're, unless it's blood cancer or something, that's totally different. But this was, so I just rejected the idea of cancer. And people then began to tell me, do a detox on fungus. You got to do this, this, and this, and then do a heavy metal detox, and then you got to do a chemical overload detox. And I had candida off the charts. I
Mhm.
remember my in that area between the legs that goes up through the butt, through the
Yeah.
crack of your butt. It was like white crystal on the outside of my skin, and it
Oh,
felt like fish scales or something when I'd have a shower. And I got a mirror and had a look at it, and it was white, like literally white crystal, about an inch and a half, 2 inches wide, all the way around. And it
whoa.
was terribly itchy, and there was always things leaking out of me, and
Oof.
it was this like super gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is kind of gross. Yeah, but I mean, at least you're okay. At least you're finding this stuff out. You're searching for answers. You're getting to the bottom of it. And the part that I love the most, which everybody should listen to right here. Remember, take note of what he said there. I refused to acknowledge that I had cancer. That's just a title. So if you had
Mhm.
acknowledged that you had cancer and said, "Okay, doc, what do we do?" You know, they would have blasted you with so many chemicals and so many things that it probably wouldn't have made it better. I mean, not to minimize, things that people do. I mean, cancer can be scary. Yes, okay. The
Mhm.
title, yes, it's scary, but it sounds like you just take a different approach. It's about the approach, right? I mean,
Yeah.
is that fair?
Oh, yeah, this it is the approach, and it's also because 'cause I'm not against the medical institutions at all. They
No,
work all their lives diligently to help people, save people's lives from accidents. They do all kinds of amazing things, like really
yeah,
amazing stuff.
yeah.
But what I am against is a lack of knowledge, and
Mm,
I noticed that the doctors were often guessing, and really stupid guessing. 'Cause you only get like 10 to 15 minutes with them, these specialists.
if
I
you're lucky,
I waited 6
yeah.
the weirdest one of all, the thing that kind of made me realize how much they're grasping at straws, and this is a bit of almost embarrassing, but it's not.
Yeah,
It was weird at the time. I waited 6 weeks to see a dermatologist because my general practitioner, I asked him, I said, "I got these sores on the front of my legs on the shins," and it would be like I accidentally hit my shin on a coffee table or something, but I
yeah.
hadn't. And it was a
Mm.
sore, like almost like a bruise, but it had stuff coming out of it, like oozing. And he looked at that and goes, "I have no idea what that is. You gotta go to a dermatologist." So he referred me to one. I arranged an appointment. It took six weeks to see this woman,
Yeah,
and she was around my age at the time. And so I got into her office and, the first thing they see is, what's wrong? And so I pulled up my pant leg and I showed her my leg and she says, "Well, you know what that is." And I said, "I do?" She goes, "Of course
no.
you know what that is. Did you want a prescription?" I
Huh,
said, "I don't understand. I don't know what that is. My GP didn't know what it is. I was referred to you.
why
What
don't you tell me
what do you
what it
mean I
is?
know what it is?" And she goes, "Well, you're obviously a homosexual."
Oh, God,
And that totally threw me off.
what?
Yeah, I know. And so, anyway, it threw me off, and I was like,
Okay.
"Whoa."
What?
I said, "No, I'm not." And she goes, "Oh, listen. We're in confidentiality. I'm a doctor. I don't care about that, but you have to be straight and honest with me, or I can't help you." I said, "Okay, let me tell you, I've been married for like 23 years at that point.
Yeah.
I am not a homosexual. I don't have anything weird sexual going on in my life." And she wouldn't believe me. She had this stupid smirk in her face, and she said it again. She said, "Listen, you just got to be straight with me, and then I can help you." I went, "Okay." I said, "If I was a homosexual, I would tell you that I
Yeah,
am,
yeah,
but
hello.
because I am not, I." It was the weirdest thing. It
I
was just
can't
like
believe
it
she
just
would
like
ask
was.
you that. That's ridiculous.
Oh no,
Oh.
she didn't even ask me. She said she told me I was, and that was the end of it. And so I could tell by the look in her face that she says, "Listen, the only thing I can do is just write you a prescription." So she scribbled a prescription on her little pad. She peeled it off, and I thanked her for it. I said, I was just cordial. I said, "Thank you," and I left. And I just crunched it up on my way out, threw it in the garbage, and I walked outside and I started to laugh.
Yeah,
Even
yeah.
though it was like this is a serious thing. That was actually lead poisoning, but I didn't
Oh,
find that out for 2 years that that was
jeez.
actually lead poisoning. And the way I found out is I went to master herbalist in Ohio. His name is Joel. And I was talking with him about all kinds of health stuff because I'm on my journey now, right? And I'm starting to
Yeah.
meet people who have great knowledge.
Yeah.
And Joel, like, could talk for hours about health. He knew so much. And so about halfway through the conversation, I said, "Hey, I got a question for you. I got this stuff happening on my leg. Do you know what this is?" And he goes, "I know exactly what that is. That
Oh,
is lead poisoning." I said, "It is?" He goes, "Yeah, that's lead poisoning." He said, "I had the very same thing." He told me that he worked 20 years for General Motors in their diesel division, and his job was to uh, put all the Babbitt bearings in these big diesel engines for the crank. And he said we were always shaping these until they fit perfectly. And
mhm.
he was always exposed to lead, like shavings and
Wow.
kind of dust and whatever. He
Mm,
said he got poisoned by lead, and he had the exact same thing. He said when you're standing up and walking around, heavy metals tend to migrate down by gravitational force.
huh?
And he said your body knows to take these poison metals and store them in the bone. He
Mm.
said, so your body put it in your shin bones because that's the bone closest to the skin in your whole body. And he
Oh,
said,
okay.
you take a swab of that, you'll find out that's lead there. I went, wow, okay. I said, well, what do I do about it? He says, well, you got to take sorghum molasses and soy lecithin. This is like eating glue. It's so bad. It sticks to your mouth. It's the grossest stuff. And he put me on a protocol of these various different herbs that help with lead detox. And it took 6 months and it all went away. It just dried up and they've never been there ever since. So anyway,
Huh.
everybody goes, "Did you go tell the doctor?" I go, "No, I did not go back and tell the doctor. She would not
No,
care." You know,
no.
it's just
I'm curious.
no.
I'm curious what I just have to ask, what the heck did you ever find out what she was so convinced you had? Like that she just wrote your prescription, didn't even answer your question? Like what do you like she just says, "Oh, well, obviously you're homosexual and I know what you have and here's your prescription." Did you
Right.
ever figure out what she thought you had?
No, I apparently
Like not that it
in the
matters,
homosexual
but
community, well, what I assumed is that in the homosexual community, they have these kind of things. They get sores in their body. I have no clue,
huh,
but I would
I don't know.
imagine she wrote me
I
a
was just curious. Yeah.
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 Yeah, no, I no, I never figured that one
Doesn't
out.
really matter. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That is oh man, that's unbelievable. I'm sorry. I'm still laughing at the nurse that's so emphatic about okay, that's gonna make me chuckle later too, I think. Oh god. So so that's what it was. It was lead. That is crazy. And so this is all part of just your journey of education and learning and so this particular person that you saw gave you this protocol and it worked. So that what that sparked another like, oh well, if this is one of those people that knows what they're talking about, let's see if I can find more, right?
Right.
To
Yep.
deal with the rest of it or something, right? I mean, how did the so where'd you go from there?
Well, it was just step by step by step, and I started to learn
Yeah,
about different ways of testing the body, like through doctors' data. They take stool samples, you can do hair analysis. There's a
yeah.
bunch of ways to tell what's happening in your body by measuring. So I was always into the measurements and figuring that stuff out. But
Wow.
it just ended up just every year I would learn a whole bunch more.
Mhm.
So I've always said that if I could go back to myself now, 20 years later, I would be able to tell myself everything very simply, lay it out, and it would only take about 6 months to deal
Yeah.
with what took 7 years to have my tumor dissolve out of my body.
Man.
And it took until 2011 for the tumor to finally disappear.
Yeah.
And my body just simply dissolved it and it was gone. But that was just an interesting thing that would happen. And that was the only thing that I thought was potentially life threatening. The heart disease that went away in about 5 years.
Yeah.
And I never had any of those, happenings again. That would happen 2 to 3 times a week. And then
Wow.
in 2007, I found out that my liver was extremely compromised, and it
Hmm.
had the numbers were so bad when I was checked. I was checked on a scanner called an interstitial scanner that
Mhm.
measures the fluid between your cells,
Yeah.
and it does a whole body check. And this guy, this technician, it wasn't even a doctor, it was a technician that was doing the measurement. And then you use that recording to then go and get a prescription or whatever you're gonna do.
Yeah.
And he told me, most of your, this is in 2007. He said, most of your body is average to below average health. But he said, your liver is so bad. I've never seen anything like this. He said, I want you to go to the hospital immediately. Don't go in and get groceries. Don't do anything. Just go straight to the hospital, sir.
What?
And I said to him, really? I said, your machine must be broken. He goes, the machine's not broken. Go to the hospital right now. And he wouldn't talk to me anymore. He was like, you got to go, right?
What?
He didn't want to have it. He didn't want me to hang around. And
like he was going
I
to
think he
catch it
didn't-
or something. Like
oh no, he didn't want me to have a collapse or something. He didn't know how I was still standing up.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So, but what I found out is that I'd done so many detox protocols during that time, and I'd lost about 90 pounds of weight. So I was very skinny. I was down around 130 pounds in a 5'11" frame.
Ooh.
And I turned orange, and people said that's like a jaundice thing, which is liver related. I had simply detoxed so much stuff. My liver was way overloaded. And so I didn't get scared, and I didn't go to the hospital.
No.
I just said, well, I'm doing a bunch of stuff. I'm just going to keep doing it. But I did focus on liver remediation, and I got into milk thistle, and I paid pretty close attention to what was going on, so that I didn't just take it for granted.
Sure.
And it was in 2000, late in 2009, where I went back and had myself measured on the same equipment from a different guy, a guy down in Denver, who had that device, and my numbers were perfect. They were right within the normal range, so that was good.
Well, I'm sorry. I wish we had a 3-hour show because this is so fascinating. But all right, I tell you what, this is a good time for a break. We're going to go to the break and just for a couple minutes, and then we'll come back. And when we come back, I want to continue this conversation because this is just, I mean, this blows me away every time I talk to you. And so anybody out there listening, watching, however you're watching, please scan this QR code because this you will never have a person in front of you that can help you and have more knowledge about this. I mean, the attitude you have towards all this is just phenomenal, and I love it. And I wish we had more people in the United States or anywhere, honestly, that had this kind of attitude towards healing and taking care of yourself. So anyway, everybody don't go anywhere. Stay put, stay where you are, and we will see you in just a couple of minutes.
In a world where office workers typically receive 130 daily emails and have an 8-second attention span, CoreCentrica, with her 4 decades of international marketing experience, has partnered with the Learning Code Institute and their 30 years of neuroscientific research. Together, we are crafting unique messaging strategies that resonate, connect, and ultimately convert our target audiences. CoreCentrica, where award-winning creativity and disruptive neuroscience come together. Scan this code now, or call and click, and let us show you how CoreCentrica's partnership with the Learning Code Institute is influencing how businesses connect with their audience, foster engagement, and achieve conversions.
Does your to-do list have you feeling stressed? Does your list include tasks like responding to email and phone calls, collecting forms and paperwork, and sending quotes and invoices? Have you been neglecting posting updates to your social media accounts, email newsletters, or content on your website? Maybe you need help to get digitally organized. I'm Selena, one of the owners at Office Mercenary, and we're a US-based virtual assistant agency. We can take care of all of these tasks and more so you can get back to focusing on the things you love about your business. Our team is happy to work with you and your individual needs. So schedule a call with us, bring your to-do list, and stop doing the tedious tasks.
My name is Adriana Morrison, host of the Health Revolution TV show. Join us Tuesdays and Thursdays live, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where our mission is simple: engaging conversations, elevating health and wellness, empowering transformation. Right here on the Achieve TV channel on E360 TV.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. This is I hope this is blowing your mind, by the way, everybody, because this is different. This is very unique and very different. And I've never talked to anybody like you, Ian, that with this kind of trying to think of the word. You're calm. You're just calm about it. Like inside, maybe you weren't calm, but now it's just, you're telling this and it's like, oh yeah. And then they told me to have surgery immediately, but yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go do this instead. It's fascinating to me how calm you are about all of it. Were you calm at the time, or were you still kind of like, well, geez, I hope this works,
I was somewhat calm, and because I felt that if I got really upset, it would only make it worse.
Sure.
And my family was definitely freaking out on me.
Oh, I would imagine. Yeah. That's understandable. Yeah.
So there's the social implications and the pressure, peer pressure, and so on. But I just was like, hey, you guys, give me a break for 24 months and let me at least explore this other avenue, and let's see what happens. And so it was just a gradual. It was very slow motion, but that's how it goes. I wanted to have it fixed right away.
Sure.
But I just didn't know. Yeah,
everybody wants it fixed right away. Everybody wants the, fix, but nothing is instantaneous, right? I mean, I can't help but notice you said that it took you, you said 6 months, right? If somebody came to you and said, this is what's going on, I want to rid myself of it, with all the knowledge, you said, what if you could go back 20 years? It would about 6 months, but that's still not instantaneous. That's not, take a pill and it's gone.
That's right.
It's anything worth doing is worth doing right. And sometimes it takes time. And so what is in that 6 months? I mean, I don't want you to give away the farm or anything, but what did you do in that? Like, if I came to you right now and said, this is what's going on, what would you tell me for 6 months to do? I mean, why is it so simple?
Well, because I would get right back to the basics, which took me, almost 20 years to get the keys to what is really simple and clean. How do you stop? Where do you stop all the toxins from coming in? Where are they coming from? How do you get all that toxic material out and all the infections? How do you have to get them out of your body? And it takes a long time to get them in, but I now know how a very quick way to get them out, but it has to be safely done. If you go too quickly, you can actually harm yourself doing that. And then you have to cleanse and nourish your body simultaneously. And you have to go through different protocols. And the protocols are, again, doable. And to me, the whole time that I was doing this, it was costing a fortune.
Yeah.
Because of my lack of knowledge. And I was bankrupt, and so I didn't have access to much money. But I found out about marine phytoplankton in 2007. And this is a nanonutrient that is grown in Europe, in Spain.
Yeah.
And when you consume just tiny amounts of it, it feels like it charges up your battery. And so I was like, nobody's heard of this stuff. I got to hear about it just by going online and doing various different research. There were all kinds of claims around it, but I was like, the only thing I'm interested in is my physical results.
Sure.
And I noticed, even though I was sick, it made me feel happy, and it made me feel like my battery was getting charged up. So that's all I told people. And I started telling a few people in Canada, and they were not interested. I was trying to find people who were interested in health. So I went to a farmer's market where I knew that maybe some health gurus would be there, experts or whatever. They turned their nose up at it when they saw it. And I went down to California to Expo West, which is a natural products exposition they have every year in March.
Yeah.
And I showed some people down there, and they wanted to try it. The people in Canada didn't even want to try it, which is weird. And they would come back to me a short while after consuming it. You just put it in water and consume it.
Yeah.
And they go, "Hey, is this stuff legal?" I went, "Yeah, it's food." And they said, "Well, we definitely noticed something. Should we notice like that kind of energy right away?" I said, "Yeah, that's very normal." And so the more deficient you are in these nutrients, the more you're going to notice it. And they said, "Well, where do we get it?" So I told him, I said, well, I can get this. It's available. And I had this resource in Europe that no one knew about. And so this one guy who had a lot of people following him, even back in that day online through like his email, and he had a little membership site.
Yeah.
And so he started buying and selling this stuff to his people. And we just started he bought thousands of bottles of this stuff. And we just shipped it from Canada. We set up a little clean room in our basement, and we made so it was very sanitary because we didn't have any certifications or facility. I just knew it had to be clean.
Yeah.
And my children were like getting little beakers and funnels, and we were putting in these little pipette bottles, and then we had a printer that was printing these labels in the basement. We had that done in a separate room.
I love it.
And we just started shipping thousands of bottles. And we ended up between 2007 and 2009, because it kind of went by word of mouth.
Uh-huh.
And they weren't in touch with us. They were in touch with those people who had followers, because one follower was go, what is that? Can I get that?
Sure.
And I calculated at the end of 2009. Yeah, it just spread that way.
Yeah.
We had no structure, no sales department, no marketing, no nothing. And we did about 2.8 million in sales between 2007 and the end of 2009. And when that happened, I was like, that's amazing.
That's crazy.
And we had a lot of money that was sitting in a bank account in the States that we didn't touch, because I didn't know what to do with that. You can't, if you bring it into Canada, then it sets off alarms.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought, well, I woke up one morning and I said to myself, like, whose money is that? I knew it wasn't mine, because all we did was give something to someone that was better value than the money they paid. They weren't paying us. The leaders who had the followers were paying us, and they got it for 1/3 the cost that they were selling it for. So we ended up with 1/3 of the 2.8 million. And it was a significant amount of money. It was, around
still pretty good. Yeah.
It was about 800 grand. And so I thought, well, is it a company's money? Like, would that? No, it's not the company's money. And then I realized it's actually the people's money who went out and they earned money with their jobs or businesses. They paid their taxes, they paid their expenses, and they have this little bit of, money left over to spend on themselves. And they were trusting us to give them something of greater value than the money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's their money. So I thought, okay, that's good. So now I know whose money it is. It's their money. So let's take that money and put it into research. But I didn't want to be a researcher scientist. That'd be ridiculous, because I don't have time for that. My research was to open up the possibility. So if I met you, for example, and you happen to know something about health that I didn't know about, because you're studying your thing, you would say, hey, you go check this person out. They've done 20 years of research into brain health. And this other person did 30 years of research into gut health.
Yeah.
And you should go see them. And so I had the money there so I could fly anywhere in the world. And I was very careful with the money. I didn't go on first class. It was always in the Mahatma Gandhi seats, And, you rent a car, and then you can get a hotel. And then I would meet these people. And I realized, hold it, if that person who's done all that life research could tell me the most important things that they've learned after that much time, then I'll add that to this information that I was gathering. So it was really just an information gathering. And then there was an application of that information to see what happened with me physically. And if it worked, then I would, because not everything worked. If I noticed something significant, and plus we started selling directly to people. We set up a website and we began directly selling so that we would get feedback from them. Whereas all the other companies around us were setting up distribution, and they were going to health food stores and making hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue. And we took a much more definitive route and just went, direct. And so we had an instant feedback loop. And so if the product got rave reviews with people, then we would let it stay on the line. And we set up it took until 2014 to set up the company that we have today.
Wow.
And that was the launch of Activation Products. And we got all the certifications, report everything. We didn't report anything until that point, because we were just reinvesting the money into this research. Yeah. And it was literally millions of dollars by that point. And so you couldn't tell that we had money, because our lifestyle was always living month to month and just
Yeah.
making the payments we need to make. We ended up buying a small farm in 2010, and we put some of that money into the farm and things like that. So,
Yeah.
and then 2014, we took it really serious, and we got all the certifications. Today, now we have it's called CGMP, where you have to be audited on your
Okay.
process to make
Yeah.
sure that it's done that the product is truly what you say it is. And we registered with the FDA, which is monitoring those things as well.
Yeah.
And we've been audited by Health Canada, FDA. We come through with shining colors every time, because I learned that if you set the bar really high yourself, then they're really happy. So they would show
Yeah.
up and go, wow, you guys are doing it right. We thought we'd show up and find a whole bunch of problems, and they didn't. So that's where we are now. Now we can actually scale to serve a lot more people
Yeah.
at this point. So we've reinvested around $40 million into the research at this time. And that's just allowed that information. That's why I got to learn so much, because I didn't take the approach that it had to be me. No, it's all about you. And I got to learn as I went and see with our customers what their response was. And we've had fabulous results with this.
Nice. Oh my gosh. That is unbelievable. I can't believe it's grown that much. I mean, I say I can't believe it. Of course I can believe it because of the way you approached it. That is phenomenal. I love that. That also is not typical, by the way. This is not my money. This is their money. That's not typical thinking, by the way. I don't know if you know that, but that's in business, that's not typical. Usually a business owner makes the money and says, yeah, that's my money. I came up with the idea. It's my money. So that's, I commend you for that as well, because that's really cool. I love that. I love your attitude about all of it. It's so cool. So what's been your biggest, it's all comes back to what were we talking about at the beginning, your blood, right? This is all about the blood and having healthy blood to start with, right? That's where you started with all of it.
Yeah, well, I didn't learn about the blood until much later, because what I couldn't figure out, the thing that was really bothering me the whole time, is that because I got connected with all these really expert people in the health space, and there's sages and gurus. Are we still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, sorry,
Okay.
I was just putting you. I was just.
Well, that's
yeah,
okay.
you're good. Keep going. You're good. You're all
So
right.
there's all these there's all these sages and gurus in the world who have tremendous information, but as they got older, because it's over this 20-year span, a lot of them were in their 60s and 70s when I met them, and then they died on time in the normal age range of 75 to 85. And I thought, well, hold it. It would shock me. It's like, they just died. What did they die from? And they were dying from all kinds of various different things that I would never have expected to have that happen to them. And that made me sit back and go, okay, I don't think that we've actually cracked the code on this, because I learned from those people. So what happened at that point is I went, obviously, there is knowledge that we all don't have. And I know I don't have it, because I've been kind of going by what I've been learning from all these people. Even though I was putting all the pieces together of each one, I still knew there was something missing. So then I started to do more mathematics. I just went, okay, what does the physical body do more than anything? What are the physical things you do? Everyone's doing is you breathe 11,000 liters of air a day. Okay, so that's the thing you do the most. The second thing you do the most is you pump 7,600 liters of blood a day, but your body only has 5 liters of blood in it. That's it. You have 10,000 kilometers of cardiovascular tubing, and every 60 seconds, every speck of your blood goes to every cell in your body once, every 60 seconds.
Whoa.
And I thought, okay, so there's something with that. There's something correlating there. And then you start doing analysis of the air we're breathing. Well, in this age, the air is not great. No. You think you're in fresh air because you can't see anything, but it turns out there are quadrillions of nanoparticles in the air from all types of pollutants. One of the biggest culprits is tire dust. When they did a study, they took an annual study of how many tires are sold in the US alone, and what is the thickness of the treads, what's the width, and what's the circumference. And there's 18 tires in every truck, 4 in every car. And that there's no rubber on the road anywhere. And it burns off the tires at 70 miles an hour on the highway. It goes 1.5 miles above the highway. They took helicopters and did air sampling, and they never ran out of tire dust for 1.5 miles up. And that means that you've got, what are tires made of? Rubber, epoxy, cotton, resins, plastics, metals, and chemicals.
Yeah.
Right. And when you take an electron microscope, $1 million electron microscope, you can see the nanoparticles, and they look like little razor blades because of the metals. And then you get brake dust. There's 10 billion pounds of tire dust. And I don't know how many millions of pounds of brake dust, but it's a lot. And brakes are just awful. They are metals and composites. They are the nastiest razor blades. And that's only 2 things. If you do research, you find out that all industries are releasing nanoparticles. And now we're cremating 85% of the bodies that die.
I was just thinking about that. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, you cremate a body, all the stuff that body died from releases out of the stack immediately, because it only takes 8 hours to burn a body. But they can't filter out, they don't have any filters small enough to get these nanoparticles. And they put the crematoriums in our neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So we are now rebreathing all these people who have died. And that's a morbid thought, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
And your
there's
lungs,
there's 2 within a couple miles of us here. I mean, yeah, I drive by them all the time. Yeah, that's terrifying.
Right. But you can't see it because your naked eye can't see something smaller than a micron.
Right.
And you can't smell it or taste it or sense it at all. And so if you take a 20-year-old, they have 100% kidney function at 20. The average 60-year-old is down to around 35% kidney function. And the difference between a 20 and a 60-year-old is 160 million liters of air. That's how much air you breathe between 20 and 60. Yeah. So the filters that have got plugged up, because you're breathing all this stuff in, your body's very efficient at bringing it in. The area of the surface area of your lungs is 100 square miles. Just look it up and you'll find out. The alveoli surface area of your lungs, which look like chunks of meat, if they spread it out, is 100 square miles. So you're bringing it all in very rapidly. Yeah. And it just keeps building up. So then I found out that there's a way to make your body go into a much higher volume of blood production. And I never learned this till 2022, very recently. Yeah. And I thought, and it's based on consuming raw material that your body needs to produce a higher volume of blood, because your body produces blood 24 hours a day, but it just doesn't produce enough. And you produce it with the bone marrow. So your bone marrow needs the raw material from the food you're eating, but it's not nearly enough in the food. So I found out that if you take unrefined sea salt, which is very similar to your blood plasma, that's what the body needs to consume. I consume this all day long. This is electrolytic fluid. It looks like a glass of water, but it has 5 grams of unrefined sea salt melted into every liter. And I drink around 3 liters a day.
Wow.
And so when I started doing that, my entire body started to change within a week. And I had 3 months of liquid bowel movements, not diarrhea, just liquid bowel movements. I wasn't sick or anything. Yeah. But because I started producing way more blood, my body was able to dump the dirty blood, which it otherwise couldn't have done, because your body needs every bit of that blood to work, because your life is in the blood. But I was making so much clean blood, way more than ever in my life, that I was now able to dump, and it started to clean everything out. Now I have 100% kidney function. My liver's totally clean, and all the organs, my brain, everything else is cleaned up, including my lungs. Nice. And my lungs, so my lungs got cleaned from the inside, but also in month number 7 and month number 9, it was two separate months, where about every 30 seconds, I was coughing up this incredible amount of white glue that had no flavor and no color. Oof. And it was this thick stuff. I don't know what it was. I should have had it analyzed.
Yeah.
Whoa. But I was coughing it up every day for 30 days, and I had a month break, and then it started again, which I thought I was done, and it went for another month, and that was it. So I'm at 16 months now of drinking this electrolytic fluid that I make.
Yeah.
And I've just stayed on it every single day. And I'll stay on it for the rest of my life. So now today, what's happening is I'm breathing up just as much as everybody else. But what I breathe in today leaves today. So the accumulated amount of a 64-year life up to the point of starting that, now I've turned 66 in June, all that accumulation is gone. I feel totally different and much better. And now I'm able to maintain it daily just by producing tons of blood.
Lord. It sounds so simple, but this is so profound because it's something we've not heard before. This is what, and it's so funny. It's not surprising that not many people wanted to hear about what you were learning. You know, it's flying in the face of traditional medicine. You know, so I'm not surprised that you met resistance there. But good Lord, okay, everybody, let's listen. You're going to need to watch this show more than once. I think I'm going to need to watch this show more than once to soak up everything that Ian's been talking about today, because this has been phenomenal. We are unfortunately, the hour went so fast. We are out of time, but don't change the channel. On Friday, we are going to be coming back with Ian, and on Friday, we're going to be talking about the structure part, the support part, to how to support your body's ability to heal itself easier, right? Now we know the blood, that we know what's out there and we know what can help. Now, how do we support the structure of everything is that accurate? Is that?
Yep, that's right. Your structural frame, your
Frame,
bones,
yeah.
your joints, your connective tissue, all your muscles.
Okay.
And there's a very specific way to get those optimized very, very quickly. I
am so excited. I'm so excited for you guys to hear this. And by the way, before we go, we got about a minute left, but I want to I just want to tell you this stuff right here, that this is awesome. This is the first time in my entire life that I've been able to consume magnesium. And I'm sure there's probably underlying things that you would tell me that we need to address before we even, that even me telling you that, you probably, bells are going off going, well, you should be doing this and this and this. But in the meantime, I'm able to consume magnesium through this. And so if anybody ever has any trouble with that, this stuff's awesome. So we can talk more about that at the next episode, but I just wanted to say that to you on the air, because it's for forever. I've never been able to take it because it gave me a wicked headache. So, but we can talk more about that on the next episode, or maybe on another call or something. But thank you for everything you're doing, and thank you for the things that you shipped us. I mean, I'm so excited to talk to you more about that. And so just. Ian, thank you for being here today. I so appreciate it. We're so excited to have you back on Friday.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Thank you for the work you're doing. It's a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. This is awesome. All right, here we go, everybody. This show, I'm gonna watch it more than once. I'm serious. Like, this is crazy. Every time I talk to Ian, it makes my head explode a little bit. So I hope that you have gained an appreciation of what he's doing and how he's doing it, and what impact and what benefit what he's doing it can have on your life and everybody that you know. So please go back and watch the episode multiple times, share it with everybody you know, and scan that QR code and learn more about what he's doing, and contact him, and he can help you. So in the meantime, our next show, which will actually be with Ian again, is going to be on Friday, March 15th. So we're going to have 2 shows with him this week. So because there's just so much. I mean, come on, I couldn't pass that up. So join us on Friday with Ian again to talk about everything structural and how you can turn things around. And it's gonna be so good. So all right, everybody, have an amazing day, and we will see you on